What's up guys, my name's Petey from Charlie Intel, and yes, I'm back for another Q&A episode where I answer some of your questions I've received across the week and make a video answering them. Something you probably guessed from the title of this video, but just thought I'd clarify. Now, I was actually going to upload these episodes every single Monday, but I've decided Sunday is actually a better day because during the week Activision normally announce new stuff about Call of Duty, so Sunday is more of a quiet day, therefore it makes more sense to upload the Q&A episode today, which is of course Sunday. So going forward, it'll be every single Sunday, every single week across the entire year. As always, if you want me to answer any questions, leave them in the comment section below, or better yet, use the question form. You'll find a link to that at the very top of the description below this video. So just pop in a question, I'll receive it and hopefully answer it in the following week's episode. Now, let's jump into the first question, and that is, could Raven Software ever enter the development cycle and make their own Call of Duty title? Now, funny enough, I actually just answered this question yesterday in a video, and I made a whole video up around why it could or could not happen, how unrealistic or realistic it is. But for the purpose of this Q&A episode, I'll do a slightly different point of view and answer this question right now. So I've seen this question a lot because a lot of people are praising Raven Software, given the fact, of course, they've given us quite a good remaster of Modern Warfare. That being said, they've never really made their own game from scratch, so everything they've actually done in terms of projects within the Call of Duty franchise is based on the foundation of other games such as Call of Duty Online, available in China only. It's essentially a load of games put together into one. So it's like a mashup of every other Call of Duty title made into Call of Duty Online for Chinese players. And then, of course, they've worked on DLC and so on for other games, helped with development in regards to multiplayer and single player, and also gave us the remaster of Modern Warfare, as I mentioned. But again, they've never actually done anything by themselves and never proved to us that they can actually make a game from scratch from the very beginning with absolutely nothing on the table for them to work from. Now, alongside that, we already have 3 studios working on games as we speak in the Call of Duty franchise. We have Infinity Ward, we have Treyarch, and we have Sledgehammer Games currently working as we speak right now in this video, as you watch it, working on the next title we have absolutely no idea about. So, although Infinity Ward have just released Infinite Warfare, they're actually starting work on their next game to be released in 2019. So they never really stop in terms of working on the next title because they have only a set amount of time to actually achieve that title and actually release it to the general public. So honestly, I don't think Activision will ever extend the 3-year cycle into a 4-year cycle and incorporate Raven Software. I think it's only going to stay at 3 years, especially since the franchise is currently in a downturn. So to incorporate a 4th studio and a 4-year development cycle would of course increase spending, and they don't really want to do that. So I think Raven Software will always be the kind of side studio to assist the 3 main studios and also work on side projects such as Call of Duty Online and also remasters of future games, perhaps Modern Warfare 2 and so on in the future as well. So I don't think that will happen, that's my honest opinion, unless of course Infinity Ward get dropped by Activision and they get replaced with Raven Software. But again, that seems very unlikely to me because Infinity Ward are like the originators of the Call of Duty franchise, essentially. They were the first people to actually make a Call of Duty game back in 2003, so I don't really think they could actually drop them as a studio, unless of course they kind of combine them with Raven Software and turn it into a new hybrid studio between the two. But again, I don't think that will happen. So moving on to the next question, do you play other games besides COD? Honestly, I wish I could, but right now I don't have much time in my life. So I have a full-time job, I also help out with Charlie Intel, and I make YouTube videos, so it limits my time to playing just Call of Duty most of the time. But when I do find time, I do play GTA quite a bit. I love GTA, and I also play racing games such as Forza. I'm a huge racing games fan. In fact, if it wasn't for Call of Duty, I'd probably just primarily play racing games. One of my favourites. I used to love the Burnout series and so on as well. So to me, by far my favourite genre behind, obviously, first-person shooters and Call of Duty. Next question, do you think Activision will ever release Call of Duty Online worldwide and on consoles? I don't think that will happen anytime soon, if ever. I think Activision wants to focus on the brand new game every single year in Western markets such as North America, Canada, Europe, and so on. They want those games to be the big flagship games every year based on the one they released for that particular year. So obviously we had Infinite Warfare this year. Next we have Sledgehammer Games in 2017 with their game. So that is always going to be their priority in terms of new releases. And a game such as Call of Duty Online would take away from the limelight and the spotlight of the new game, and therefore it just wouldn't go down so well. So therefore, I don't think it will be happening anytime soon. So on to the next question, do you think Call of Duty will ever reach the height it did back in the day ever again? So I'm assuming you're talking about Black Ops 1, Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3 in regards to sales numbers and player numbers and so on, because back then the franchise was breaking records, selling a ridiculous amount of copies, and it had a stupid amount of players online or multiplayer at any one time. I think Like Black Ops 1 was peaking at like 900k players on just one console during its peak hours. I think it even exceeded 1 million players on just one console at any one time. So that's like a ridiculous amount. I don't even think the current games released in the Call of Duty franchise even go close to that number across all platforms at any one time. So we've come a long way, and of course we've kind of gone downhill in terms of player numbers and so on. So again, do I think it will ever reach that stage? I'm not quite sure. I think we'll get close, but I don't think we'll ever exceed the peak we've seen in the past. And the reason for that is because the Call of Duty franchise has a somewhat negative reception right now. It has a negative connotation towards it. And therefore, I think it's going to take some time for a new generation of players who are currently young and at 12, 13 years old, getting into console gaming, getting into first-person shooters, to take over from the existing player base of Call of Duty as they get too old and just don't have a care for Call of Duty anymore. So I think give it a few more years, and over the course of the next few years, if the games improve and Activision start listening to the community in terms of what we want in a Call of Duty game, I think it's only a matter of time before the franchise will start to increase in popularity again, and sales numbers and player numbers will increase also once also the new generation of players has been captured who start to get consoles like PlayStation 4s, Xbox Ones for Christmas, and so on as well. If Sledgehammer's COD in 2017 jetpack-based Advanced Warfare 2, etc., and turns out to be a really good title, do you think people will unfairly criticise it solely for being jetpack-based? I'll stop right here for right now and just answer this one, and I'll say potentially because for the last 3 or 4 years we've had jetpacks-based Call of Duties, and I think people are just tired of it. So as good as it may be, I think people just want something different, and they want a boots-on-the-ground experience. Then the next question is, likewise, if it's boots on the ground and it turns out to be a really bad title, do you think people will blindly praise it just for having boots on the ground? I can't really answer that one. I think everyone has a different opinion, but because it's the Call of Duty community, I'm just going to say yes. I think people have very weird opinions in this community, and therefore I think people might praise it purely for being boots on the ground just because it's different to the last like 4 or so titles, regardless of whether the game is good or bad. I mean, look at Call of Duty Ghosts. That game was boots on the ground. That didn't get the best reception in the Call of Duty community. So, I mean, that could happen again in 2017. Who knows? But I think as long as it's, drastically different to being boots, or should I say boots in the sky or jetpacks or whatever, then I think there's a good possibility it will get a good reception regardless, simply because it's different to anything we've had for the last 4 or so years. What time period will Call of Duty 2017 be in? Will it go even further into the past? So my honest opinion here is it's going to be pre-modern, so pretty much any time before the year 2000 is my honest opinion as to what the timeline will be for the next game by Sledgehammer Games in 2017. I have no more information about this whatsoever. I don't think anyone actually knows, other than Activision themselves, unless of course there are some leaks information dropping over the course of the next couple of months. But otherwise, I'm very certain, and if I had to put money down on it, if I literally put like $100 down on a bet right now, I would put it on it being a past Call of Duty or pre-modern Call of Duty based during the years of, let's say, the 1950s to the 1980s or so, that kind of timeline in the history of the world. So yeah, that's where my money is, and I'm very certain that we won't be getting a future or modern day Call of Duty in 2017. Next question, do you think that Modern Warfare 2 will get remastered? So long story short, I do think it will get remastered, and I think it will happen in 2019. The reason for that is because there's only really one studio at Activision that can actually do remasters, competently, and that is of course Raven Software. And remasters take about 2 or so years to develop, like the remastered version of Modern Warfare we've just had released alongside Infinite Warfare on November 4th, 2016. So I think it's very likely we'll see another remaster released alongside Infinity Ward's next game in 2019. Be sure to check out my video on this already. I actually made a video about this. I'll put a link to that in the description below so you can get more insight into what I'm thinking behind that and why it will probably be 2019. What was your personal favourite Call of Duty? To me, this has to be Black Ops 1. I played Black Ops 1 the most of any Call of Duty game. I loved that game to pieces. I thought the maps were great. I thought the DLC maps were great. I thought the weapons were great. Pretty much everything about that game I honestly loved, and I must have played hours upon hours of that game. Many days, if not weeks of my life have been spent playing Black Ops 1, and nothing's matched that game, in my opinion, in the franchise ever since, in terms of the amount of hours I put into that game, and the maps and the weapons and so on also. So I'm always a big fan of that game. I actually played it recently as well, and I still enjoy it to this day just as much. So yeah, definitely Black Ops 1 is my favourite. I'd love to hear your thoughts, by the way, so let me know in the comment section below which is your favourite Call of Duty to date from all the existing ones that have been released. What do you think about the possibility of having a COD with a futuristic, far future context but boots on the ground? So technically we've actually already had this. We've had Black Ops 2, which was based in the year 2025. Not necessarily far into the future, but definitely a future-based Call of Duty in the general means, I guess you could say. It had, you know, future aspects to it, future elements, and therefore I would have categorized that game as being a future-based Call of Duty by every means possible. So therefore, I do honestly think that it's possible we'll see even more of those in the future in regards to future-based Call of Duties with boots on the ground. I don't think that's something we won't see in the future. I think it's only a matter of time. When that will happen, I don't know. I think they might lay off the future-based Call of Duties for the next couple of years just to settle down the Call of Duty community. But yes, I definitely do think we'll see something like that in the future. Again, because we already have with Black Ops 2, which was kind of the similar concept to what you were talking about, and because it's only the matter of time. There's only so many games you can actually have based in modern times and so on before you have to mix things up. And I think that that's the best middle ground you can get, which is boots on the ground, which most people want, and also a future-based Call of Duty, which some people want also. So, you know, you can never really please everyone in the Call of Duty community. Everyone wants something different. I don't think there's like a perfect formula, but obviously there's been some winning formulas in the past, so I think they need to go back to those. And Black Ops 2 technically was a winning formula. It actually had boots on the ground. It was a feature-based Call of Duty, but it was also incredibly popular in the Call of Duty franchise. So hopefully we'll have something similar to that in the future. Otherwise, I think boots on the ground is definitely a focus at Activision, and 2017 is going to be the first. So that's everything for this week. Make sure you leave your questions in the comment section below, or use the question form as I mentioned at the start of this video. You'll find the link in the description below this video. And of course, leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe for further Charlie Intel content every 1 to 2 days. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next video. Goodbye.